listen.
Never in my life associated the word boring with baseball.
We know what's up.
Me? Yeah. Famous? Yeah.
And I'm like giddy over there smiling like, we're about to win this shit.
Did everyone give you crap? Give me a good host story.
I'm not picking it up.
We both love the game.
We talk about it every day.
Can't get enough baseball.
Having some popcorn, you're fooling around your phone.
I'd have to wait in line for 3 hours.
Hang on, because it's about to be a wild ride.
There is no streamer I would rather have on the podcast before than Ottavino. I'll take it to the next level. There's no human being I'd rather have on the podcast than Adam Ottavino. I don't know if I tried to mix it up the other day, Adam. Dude, I don't know if you saw it. We were just talking about
I did. Yeah, I listened to that. You said that he was the second most or something.
And then we say, who's the first? I'm like, Lucas Giolito.
You're looking for different ways to deliver the same line.
Well, I could do it with, honestly, guys like yourself or Lucas. We talk so much. It is what it is. It's a staple. But guys who aren't, they don't know it's coming. It's a 100% hit rate and smiles.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll take that back. Gavin Williams didn't know. I don't think didn't know what to make of it.
He's like, is he being sarcastic?
Yeah. Exactly. All right. Anyway, congratulations. I proclaim that you have the best thing on MLB Network, and I mean it.
Appreciate it.
So it's really, really good. And my mea culpa, my apologies. Another person we just had on, Conley Early, you had said, what should we make? I don't know how you phrase it. Should I pay attention to Conley Early? I'm like, yeah.
No, I was like, do I need to lock in on this guy?
Yeah.
And you said, all right, let's give him one start and we'll see. And then sure enough, he throws the 11 strikeouts. So I was like, ooh, now I need to definitely check it out.
I think, though, I was a little more dismissive than even what you're saying. I think it was sort of like, But I'm the first to admit it. I don't know what his second start. Well, I mean, by the time people listen to this, they'll know. But I'm happy that you did lock in on him, because once again, it was a perfect example of why. And I think that people, because the Red Sox fan base is so strong, they like new things. I think you probably got a lot of new people for your stream, because of it. Yeah. So
I did. It really, people love the rookies. They love the debuts. I've done a bunch of debuts, and my biggest viewership so far has come on Jonah Tong debut video, Connerly Early, and Peyton Tolley, of course, with the Red Sox, and then this one I did last night on Trey Savage. Man, people are watching that like crazy, and there's a lot of demand for the rookie stuff. So I'm glad to do it.
I wasn't planning on that. So you named 4 names. All right.
Mm-hmm.
You Savage, and I'm glad you said his name, because Baseball Reference doesn't have the correct pronunciation. Yeah. So listen, it's all work in progress. But you mentioned Joe. Did you do one on McLean or?
Sprout? Oh yeah. McLean, Sprout, all these guys. Yeah.
All right. So let's do that. McLean, Sprout, Conley Early, Peyton Tolley, Trey Savage. Maybe that's a lot to power rank off the top of your head, but give me your top 3 of those.
So it depends on what you're looking for. Like in terms of ceiling, ability to, potential to reach a really high place. I actually think Savage might be the number one guy. Be the number one guy. Yeah. Man, the splitter is special. The 14.7 strikeouts per 9 in the minors is no joke after I've watched it. It's just a unique angle. I got word that he's throwing at an 80-degree angle. The previous high watermark for this season was 66 degrees on arm angle. So
wait, isn't Jonah Tong he's
Jonah Tong high too, but not as high as Savage.
Wow.
And I don't know. His pitches tunneled really well yesterday. There was a lot to like, but there's been a lot to like with all these guys. Peyton Tolley's angle on his fastball is special. But I do think that in terms of most polished, ready guys right now, I think McLean is a clear number 1. And I actually think Early looked really good. I'm curious to watch him again in the second start. So I'd rank McLean, then I'd rank Savage, and then Tolley, with Early saying we just don't have enough information yet.
Sure. Okay.
But I think he's a more complete pitcher than Tolley at this moment. But I think the ceiling's a little higher for Tolley. So it's a little bit of a 2-part answer.
Well, there. I mean, the Tolley thing is interesting because it was it was a microcosm of the evolution of a young pitcher. I mean, it was, and you probably can speak to it better than I can, but I know that he had this really good outing against Skeens. Everyone's freaking out, like, oh my god, of course you wouldn't trade him for Joe Ryan. Of course, this is why, blah, blah, blah. Whole nother thing. But then he faces Arizona, and, spoiler alert, I talked to the manager of the Diamondbacks before the game, and he's just like, yeah, we're just going to sit on his fastball.
Yeah, because that's what he's got. He's got a good fastball, but in the big leagues, you get these team approaches. Teams get a chance to step back and look at you. So it's always fascinating to watch starts 2, 3, and 4, and not just that debut. So yeah, good job by the Diamondbacks.
Well, and it's funny, they said they cranked up the trajectory machine to 100, and because that's another thing. He's 97, but his extension is like 100.
Yep.
And then they said, once we saw that he wasn't getting a release point on his breaking ball, then we knew he had him. But it to me, it might be that simple with the guy, and probably I would think that he's going to end up in the bullpen in the postseason if they make it.
Agreed.
It's that simple. Like, just find that number 2 pitch. Just find anything, right?
Yeah. He has the makings of a plus changeup, but right now it's not competitive enough, like in the zone, consistently. But he has the makings of it, and that'll take him to another level for sure once he figures that out.
All right. So this leads us to the conversation I wanted to have. Adam, every time the postseason runs around, I find it fascinating and how players can be defined, whether it's for monetary gain or just, their brand, because of literally 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It's kind of nuts. Like, we're talking about, we're 2 weeks out in the regular season. If someone has a good 2 weeks, everyone's like, that's nice, they had a good 2 weeks. If you have a good 2 weeks after these 2 weeks, it's like you can go from a 1-year deal to a 3-year deal. You know how I know that? Because I saw it happen with a guy who I co-wrote a book with. So It's true. I mean,
it's true. Totally true.
It's true. Like, Cora said this. He said they were going to leave Joe Kelly off the playoff roster. He pounded the table for 100 miles an hour. Joe goes on a run. He strikes out the side in the final game of the World Series. The Dodgers sign him to a 3-year deal.
Yep. Oh, beautiful.
Pretty beautiful. but so, I mean, it speaks to what I want to talk to you about potential guys who could be that. Guys who you're like, okay, I could see them making a name for them, or we're sleeping on those guys. And maybe some of the guys that we already mentioned. I don't know. But how do you want to do this? What do you want?
Well, most of the guys that I looked at, I took it from the perspective of, maybe first time on the national stage, first time in the big games. And so the first name that came to my head was Brian Wu, actually, from the Mariners. He's been unbelievable all year. He's made 6 innings in every single start, but I feel like nobody knows about him because he's in Seattle. They're headed for a division crown, it looks like, or at least in the wild card. So they're going to throw great pitchers out there every day, but Brian Wu might be the best of the bunch, and I think he has a chance to leap forward. Also, his personality really shows on the mound, and if he can pitch the Mariners beyond the first round, that would be a huge achievement for them, and I think he might be the guy to do it.
Where do you know? I should know this. Where is he at in innings? He's probably like top, but not top, tippity top.
I'll tell you right now. He because he's thrown 6 every game, you would think. So he's at 181 this year.
Yeah,
181
so he's
and 2/3.
near the top. And so I asked that because that's another part of my favorite conversation, which is the Zach Gallen one from 243 innings a couple of years ago. How do you get through that? What does that mean? Because it's like and I like that pick. I like Wu because you're always fascinated by the get on my back boy starter, right?
Yeah, exactly. And he has an element to his game that should play in the postseason. Like, the way his fastball plays at the top of the zone is different than a lot of other guys. So I don't think just because the focus gets a little sharper that teams are necessarily going to be all over him. He has a stuff first approach, and we really like premium stuff in the playoffs. So that's one of the reasons why I went with him.
I love that. That's a good one. And by the way, before we go to the next one, I do want to highlight that your postseason expertise. I'm here to build up.
Oh, I was terrible in the postseason.
No. No. That's not true. That's not true. You got potentially one of the biggest outs of the 2021 ALCS.
Yes, I remember.
At the time, was that the last Diaz game? That was that was
it was.
game 4.
It
Yeah.
was game 4.
So
yes.
you guys,
We
and
had the lead when I came out. I
I
struck
don't
out
want to interrupt the
Correa.
flow of what we're talking about, but still, I'm here to build up. I want to make you to feel good about when you go into number 2. Game 4, Red Sox up 2-1 on Houston. You're up 2-1. I think it was the 5th or 6th inning. And
6th inning.
6th inning. 6th inning, you're up 2-1.
Yep.
2-1. The people forget like how crazy close you guys were.
We were right there.
You come in to face, this is when you could do this. You face one hitter, Carlos Correa. One hitter.
Yeah.
And you know what you did?
Punched his ticket.
You struck him out.
Well, thanks. Yeah, that felt good. I mean, we definitely felt like we had him that game. I know Altuve hit a homer, tied it up, went to the bottom extra innings maybe. Evaldi had a crazy inning.
They scored like 7 in the 9th or something.
Yeah, so that's how that went down. But yeah, I appreciate that.
Well, and I was thinking about when the other night I was at Fenway and Whitlock struck out Trent Grisham to finalize, and the surge of emotion from the fans, that I hadn't heard that in a long, long time. And I would imagine that was the same sort of thing. I don't remember specifically, but I would imagine of all the surges of emotion that you had to end an inning, that must have been top tier, right?
Yeah, it felt so good. You know, I threw it. I realized he wasn't going to swing. We had strike 3. I just remember running off the field to the really loud noise of the crowd and just feeling like, man, all right, I did my job. Let's turn it over to these other guys.
So you can only do what you can do. So that's what I'm here to build up. Anyway, I just want to make it clear to everybody that the person giving these names actually knows and lived the life. It's not some jamoke like myself. So go ahead. Number 2.
My number 2, and this guy is already a star in a way because he's so hyped and already got the big contract, and he happens to be injured right now. It's Roman Anthony. And the reason why is because if he does come back, he's got the ability to become basically immortal in Boston this year. If he can put the offense on his back as a 21-year-old or whatever he is now and continue to swing the bat the way he was prior to his injury and lead them somewhere, he goes from like exciting young player to a superstar in the city, and I'm anxious to watch that.
Let me ask you this. You were around in spring training, correct?
Yeah.
What was that like with him?
Very mature kid. It's funny because the first conversation we ever had was in the shower. I'm pushing 40. He's 20, so I'm about double the age of him. He starts picking my brain on some things in the shower. He's like, "Oh, you ever play with Matt Holliday?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I played with Matt Holliday on the Cardinals and the Rockies." He's like, "Oh, so do you know Jackson and Ethan? You know, Matt's sons?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I used to shag BP with those guys in Busch Stadium when they were 6 and 8 years old." And he's like, "Oh, I grew up with those kids." So then I was like, "Oh, okay." So that was kind of my in to learning a little bit more about Roman, and then we kind of chatted a little bit the rest of the way. But great head on his shoulders. Definitely wasn't looking too far ahead. Guy with a lot of confidence, really good approach, very powerful swing. So I kind of bought into it right away, really, with all 3 of those young guys, but especially with Roman. And it's been impressive to see how, the walk rate and all those types of things. That's not typical for a young guy.
Yeah, and you're right. I just wonder, and maybe you know more about obliques than I do. I know about obliques. I know that I used to have one, but it is like as soon as you hear oblique, it's a tricky thing because not only it's a time to come back, but then I feel like, and you tell me if I'm wrong, you're kind of holding your breath every time someone like takes a swing with an oblique, right?
Yeah, I had an oblique injury in 2018, and it was about as mild as you can possibly have, and I still missed 17, 18 days, and that's as a pitcher who's not guaranteed to play every day like a hitter. So I do think it's a little touchy, and some are more severe than others, and it's touch and go at times. But I'm pretty sure he's young. He's got those good hormones flowing through that bloodstream. He might heal up better than I did.
I know. So that's when I congratulated him on being young. It was because he had a back injury. I'm like, oh, if I had a back injury, I would be out like 2 months. And then the whole thing about him asking me if I knew who Hall & Oates was, and do you know who Hall & Oates is?
Of course, yeah, of course.
Yeah, well, yeah. And he's like, I'm like, why are you asking me that? And he said, because I'm old. He's like, it was a whole thing. And then he didn't know who Pearl Jam was, and that made me sad. Anyway, go. Yeah, exactly. And neither did Marcelo Meyer, by the way.
And they'll probably get to meet Eddie Vedder someday in baseball, if you're around long enough.
Yeah.
So.
Well, they'll realize how ridiculous it was for them. Anyway, number 3.
My third guy is Bryce Terang of the Brewers. Quietly having a great year. He's taken his game to another level. He used to be more of a defensive specialist, but he's been over 1,000 OPS for the last few months of the season. And if you stare hard long enough at that Brewers team and you try to figure out, who are the guys on this team? Is it more of a sum of the parts, or there's some real standouts here? And I think Bryce Terang started to turn himself into one of those standouts. He's the type of guy that can ruin your season late in a ball game if you don't take him seriously. So that's my pick.
What do you make of the Brewers?
I think that they have outstanding pitching overall. I'm a little worried about them because they've started to drop like flies in the bullpen. McGill's down. There's a couple other guys. Shelby Miller went down. So ultimately, they're going to need all the arms they can get. But I do like how they are pitching. Offense, sort of an opportunistic offense. Reminds me a lot of those Giants teams in the early 2010s. That would kind of like not score all game, but then get one guy on and mount this rally right at the moment that they needed it. That's kind of the way I look at the Brewers offense. They're more of a rally style offense, pass the baton. They're not going to do a lot, in terms of power and stuff like that. But it's an annoying team to face. They're going to always be in the games. They're really well managed by Pat Murphy. So I give them a puncher's chance. I don't think they're as good as the Dodgers or the Phillies, but you can't ignore them because their record's been outstanding all year.
Can I ask you this? When we get to the postseason, last few years anyway, people finally wake up and they realize putting the ball in play is important. And obviously in the regular season, a lot of teams don't prioritize that. They prioritize hitting home runs and putting the ball in the air. So for you, is that important? Because if it is important, one of the teams that I look at, you mentioned the Brewers, but I also look at the Blue Jays, who swing and miss the least, who put the ball in play in the least, and also have the best batting average in close and late situations because they do that. Is that something I actually should be pounding the table about?
Yes, if a perfect example of this is the Royals, the year they won the World Series, 2015. They were the perfect antidote to the Mets' power pitching, and that's what the whole league is now, is power pitching, power stuff. But if you can put the ball in play, you can make things happen. You can expose some defenses. There's some shaky defenses that are going to be in the playoffs. So I do think that style can definitely take you all the way, and I like that you've been pounding the table up.
Yeah, I'm glad. I feel better about you. I made you feel good. Now I feel better about myself, and also I really want to talk to the Blue Jays about it. I really do. That's been the case all year long. So everyone, and people sleep on the Blue Jays, I think, a little bit, just maybe because they don't know what to make of their bullpen. But so be it. But like you said, they have the new guy, and that could be the David Price circa 2008.
Well, that leads me to my fourth pick, which is Trey Savage.
All right, we're simpatico.
His chase rate is going to be sky high. His ability to miss bats is huge. They have a embarrassment of riches, let's be honest, in the starting rotation. It's going to be hard to bump some of these guys out. The Biebers, the Scherzers of the world. So I see Savage probably making his mark as a lethal shutdown reliever in the playoffs. And if he can pull that off, I think he elevates his status, his brand really quickly.
Oh, yeah. Well, exactly. I keep referencing David Price circa 2008, but that was it. That was it. I think he was picked the year before, like Savage was.
Yeah. Very fast rise, bring him up in the bullpen, premium stuff.
Yeah. And so how difficult, or is it difficult for a guy like that just to say, hey, come in and just worry about an inning, worry about maybe 2 innings at the most?
Yeah, I think it's hard, but it also frees you up a little bit. You don't have to face guys more than one time in the same outing. You can just go right to your main stuff. And Savage is going to be walked along here pretty well by the veterans that are around him, Scherzer, Bassett, these guys.
That's a great group, right?
Phenomenal for him. Also, I noticed he didn't shake at all in last night's game. Kirk and whoever's catching him definitely are going to walk him through it the whole way. So all he's got to do is keep his blinders on, execute his pitches, and trust his stuff, which I'm pretty sure he will because he hasn't been embarrassed yet with it. So I think he's, that little bit of self-doubt probably hasn't crept in on him yet, and that's a good quality to have at this time of year.
Think about that group that a guy like that's learning from. Being dropped in with Scherzer and Bassett and Gosman and Bieber.
Fantastic.
Yeah, really good. That's a good one. Now I'm actually going to pick the Blue Jays to go all the way just because of that. All right, let me write that down. Blue Jays all the way. All right, number 5.
All right, number 5, and I have a lot of names here, but I'm gonna go Ben Rice of the Yankees because he's had an incredibly unlucky year at the plate, and I think that if the Yankees want to advance, he could be, kind of the piece that makes that lineup feel a lot deeper, and maybe his luck turns around a little bit in the postseason. He can ride a hot 2 weeks, to a little bit more credit and recognition.
All right, that's an outside the box one. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I had other names written down. Yohan Duran. I feel like a lot of people don't know about him. He's going to be closing huge games for the Phillies. I have Cade Horton, for the Cubbies. He's going to be definitely in the rotation as a rookie, true rookie. Lightning McLean for the Mets is going to be the number one game starter for the Mets if they make it into the playoffs. But I couldn't put him in there yet because I'm not sure they're making it. So I'm going with Ben Rice. I feel like he's the type of guy that people are sleeping on because his actual numbers aren't nearly as good as his expected numbers. I expect that to flip at some point.
Okay. The last thing, you've been very generous with your time. I know that you're running around a lot today, and everyone should go check out Baseball and Coffee because, like as I said, it's the best thing on MLB Network, and it may be the best thing you do all day, other than listen to this. But we did a podcast with producer Evan last night, and I just wanted to do most panicked fan bases. Mm-hmm. And the Mets were number one. You would agree with that, right?
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. No-brainer.
I mean, it's like them and everybody else. I think we did Houston number 2. He should have put the Red Sox 3, but he put Texas. I said nobody cares that much in Texas because the Cowboys season. Red Sox 4, and then I convinced him Dodgers 5 because as good as they are, like if they don't do it, people are nervous about that.
Yeah,
that was a good list, right?
I think it's a good list. I'd keep the Yankees in there too. I mean, it just seems this time of year that everybody gets tight in the fan base with the Yankees. So Yankees, Dodgers, I agree. I mean, with great expectations comes great levels of panic at times.
Hold on, let me put that on a T-shirt. But the reason I bring this up is because one of the things that we had talked about was the Mets team that you were part of last year, and the vibe, and like obviously the Mets, they need these rookies to step up. They need the bullpen to be better. I get it. But also, I'm not around the Mets all the time. You were around them last year, and we talked a lot about Iglesias coming in and the vibe meter going up and all of that. I don't know. Do you get the same sense that element, not Jose Iglesias, but you know what I mean? It's like sort of the fun, freewheeling, fun, let's go get them vibe is the same as it was last year with them?
I mean, there's no way it's the same. It's a different cast of characters. They injected new personalities into the clubhouse. I do think they have some really good leadership qualities within that clubhouse. Nimmo, Lindor, Alonso to some extent are pretty good leaders. But a little bit of a red flag shot up for me when I saw Juan Soto discussing that he thought Starling Marte was actually the captain of the Mets and the most important leader on the team. I just felt like that was a weird thing to say. Was that a shot at Lindor? I'm not sure. And,
yes.
The Puerto Rican, Dominican thing, that can be real. So I'm not in that clubhouse, but that got my antennas up a little bit and let me know that I don't think the vibe's quite the same.
Well, I mean, I think it's a very, very valid thing to surface, but it's not going away. I mean, those two are linked to each other for a while. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're going to have to figure it out. And I'm sure it's not bad, but that was telling to me a little bit. Ultimately, you want your leaders. I want everybody to be clear on who the leaders are sometimes.
Yeah.
It's if everybody's saying, oh, no, I'm following this guy or I'm following that guy, that might not be the right.
Well, isn't that for the Red Sox, to bring it back to them, isn't that like the changed or the good dynamic for them is that everybody knows?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think hierarchies are important for a reason. You got to star in your role, but if you're not sure what your role is within the clubhouse, that can be a little dicey. Red Sox is pretty crystal clear, right? I mean, Bregman, Story, guys like that are definitely Crochet. Those guys are pretty obviously out front.
Yeah. All right. Well, baseball and coffee. You having fun doing it?
I'm having a blast, and I do like a baseball after dark on Saturday nights for all the losers that aren't out. Like myself, and those ones have been spicy, so those have been fun.
Really?
Yeah. 10 p.m. to about midnight on Saturday nights. It's a full party on the live stream.
Can we live stream that at like Studio 54 or something? That'd
be a very different product.
Yeah, I don't know. There's so much potential. Anyway, all sincerity, congratulations. It's unbelievable stuff. And I would imagine too, like when everyone micromanages.
My kid's here.
Hey, it's good. My dog is here too. But everyone micromanages the playoffs. That's going to be next level for you. So All right. I know you
Oh,
got
I
to go.
can't wait. I can't wait. No, it's going to be great. We're going to be doing a lot more night streaming during the playoffs too, just because, it's like some of these thoughts got to get out of the head really quickly. I can't wait till the morning.
Well,
it's great. We're in the fun part now, Rob.
Listen, every day's fun. Every podcast is fun when you're on. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.